Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 versus 1 bot AI cast. We have got ourselves what should be a good one here today, as it's a couple of exciting bots. We've got Caninana, the very good Zerg macro bot, and taking on Caninana is going to be Aeolus. So Aeolus is an up-and-coming Protoss bot doing quite well on the ladder. Seems to be a rather aggressive, stalker-focused bot. And yeah, we're just going to see how it does against a solid Zerg like Caninana. So ladies and gentlemen, before we get too far into this one, make sure to go ahead, click that like button if you haven't already. Lick that like button, whatever you want to do. Leave a comment down below saying more bots, and then subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And yeah, let's see, as we do have just Caninana going for that pool first, then hatchery. Aeolus looks like it will be going for a gateway into Nexus build in the PvZ matchup. No low ground wall off. That is something that's rather matchup specific. You usually want a high ground wall off PvP, PvT. Generally, if you wall off in PvT. I guess you sometimes want a low ground wall too. Depending on the opening actually, so. But what I'm saying is that it's probably less stress as a bot author to wall off that high ground. I actually believe the API does supply the building positions of like the high ground, which is how we get consistent walls from a lot of bot authors on the high ground. It's pretty much the same every time. So that's easier to wall than, say, the natural. Now, we do have Aeolus going for a Twilight Council, so it can go for its full-blown Blink Stalker shenanigans, as it said it would be this game. Caninana has got a single Zergling running on in here. It will get a very nice scout, as Aeolus is playing it a little bit greedy, and this is, well, greedy, unsafe, whatever you want to call it. But, yeah, it is a bot that is a little susceptible to cheese, I imagine. So we'll see how it's going to handle Caninana. Just though in the late game we do have Burrow on the way for Caninana. That could be very useful when it comes to defending against potential aggression. Still no Stalker on the way for Aeolus. We do have Blink on the way. Those gateways are building, and this bot is going to do one thing well here, I think, because it does send out a probe towards the third base, so it may be going for mass Blink Stalkers off of 3 bases, which would definitely be something exciting to see. I'm a big fan of Stalkers in the sense that the more there is, the better it is, because bot potential to micro them is just next level, so they kind of fall off almost less in the late game. So we've got an incredibly greedy third base from the Protoss. Meanwhile, there is Caninana's third on the way, which is less so. Blink is on the way. The first Stalker is out. Aeolus will chase down and kill that Zergling that was getting such a nice scout. So that's been handled. The first Stalker is actually going to be looking to just cross the map already. So Caninana does fire up some Zerglings in response to this. 9... then going up to 13, and then getting a lair on the way. So we'll see how well it handles this. Another Scouting Ling runs on in. Aeolus does do a good job seemingly chasing units. Let's see, we've got one Stalker being surrounded by Zerglings. The other Stalker tries to help, but it really just ends up watching its friend die. Now it's going to retreat, see if it can get saved by its other friends. As the Stalker numbers are starting to grow, Caninana is producing lots of Zerglings in response to this, so that's the great programming of Caninana. In order to have a response to aggression, it will just pivot into building units. Now, these Lings are getting a nice wraparound on the Stalkers. The Stalker's trying to blink away. Looks like they're not blinking the maximum distance, which is generally what you want to do, but all in all, a very solid defense from Caninana. And then it goes right back into droning, so well done. Aeolus is now going for a forge. It does seem to be pooling up its stalkers now this time a little bit more, so that's actually good to see. The fact that it's not just trickling in one stalker after the other is better, and it's got 7 out now, so 7 may have more success depending on what Caninana goes for after this, as I'm not sure it's aware that there's like around 2/3 to this attack, but now the stalkers are moving forward, going to step right on the creep. Lings are coming after this though, and the stalkers do want to blink away once they get down on shields. They do utilize that blink. Caninana immediately fires up a whopping 24 more Zerglings though in response to this. Aeolus walks on in being very aggressive, which is what it kind of made its name for, at least on the channel. And the Lings are going to jump on top of that. The Stalkers are doing quite a good job retreating. They are now being reinforced by a couple more Stalkers, so not the worst trade in the world for Blink Stalkers versus Zerglings, but in the end, the Zerglings, unsurprisingly, are going to beat this back. Now, supply-wise, it's not actually bad for Aeolus. It's actually pretty much neck and neck, 82 to 84 supply. Aeolus has a whopping just 66 probe economy on 3 bases already, so its production should really be taking off here. And who knows? That's the power of going for aggressive plays like this. The first attack might not work, but if you just lay on it and force your opponent to cut workers, maybe you can come back and strike them down later on. That's what Aeolus is going to be hopefully achieving here for it. I want to say, like, it's the caster thing. You want to be like, oh, Aeolus is hoping. It's like, Aeolus isn't hoping anything. Aeolus is a bot. So we'll see whether Aeolus can pull that off or not. And we do have that stalker count growing. Seems like it does like to go for... I'm curious why it pulls up more stalkers. Is that based on the amount of enemy units that it saw last time? Is it just sort of like an increasing value every attack that it goes for? This one, I mean... It's got 14 out in total. That is definitely not 14 there, so 7. Okay, there's a few. Lings are spilling down the ramp, trying to get us around on a lot of these stalkers, and they're doing quite an alright job with it. So Caninana's strategy of just build Lings to counter stalkers is working quite well indeed. More stalkers are coming down to try and respond to this. Notably, we do not have detection from Aeolus yet. Probes are being pulled into the fight, so Aeolus is quite an advanced bot, all things considered, that the workers are willing to fight and buffer. Stalkers getting lots of shots off while the Lings work away on this. Immediately more probes are being built. Aeolus can afford to lose some probes as it's got the minerals to rebuild them, as it's just severely bottlenecked by its gas presently. Bottlenecked by its gas, maybe bottlenecked a little bit by its warp gate, but yeah, mainly the gas. We've now got 17 stalkers out in total. Caninana says, boy, that's a lot of stalkers. Let me make some more Zerglings. And we'll see, because, I mean, the more stalkers there is, the better they do against this. But man, oh man, what a surround as Caninana comes on in here. And the Lings, they do back off. I guess the math changes a little bit as some more of those stalkers on the high ground do get seen. Aeolus will need to retreat with these stalkers, though, as Caninana decides to go in for another round. We've got a skirmish at the third base. This group to the north having a bit of a tough time. Aeolus, though, it's up to 23 stalkers now. Caninana firing up some roaches, adding in some Lings. I'm not sure how helpful the roaches are in this scenario, but the stalkers, they do want to move out again. And then we do have, yeah, more stalkers crossing out on the map. This is where things tend to go wrong for the Protoss when it gets really far on creep. Now, it is doing a good job sort of playing on the edge of Caninana's decision-making, where the Lings, they want to go in and then they don't. And then as they see more stalkers, and now Aeolus is coming on in with a whopping 35 stalkers pushing into Caninana's base. It's got no detection, so Caninana can just burrow its units. So this will really come down to just be army versus army. +1 stalkers against Zerglings that don't have any upgrades just yet. They're going to have 1-1 in not too long, but the fight is happening now. Stalkers are microing back, and that is that machine micro with 50,000 APM cruising for Aeolus. The hatchery does go down. Caninana does complete +1 armor. That's going to help the Lings +1 melee is about to finish, but this is the power of the Blinkstalker. It scales so well in these bot games, and Aeolus is now pushing on in. Caninana's got bases to burn, but it needs to handle this. We've got Adrenal on the way. Man, if that finishes up, that'll be really nice. Caninana seems to be trying to set up a bit of a surround here, but now it's not mining at its natural, it's not mining at its third, and it's just afraid of this amount of stalkers right now. And yeah, Caninana needs to pull the trigger, but it does seem like it's almost been checkmated here. There's too much Protoss in order for the bot to say, yeah, I can take that fight, and thus we get the wavering on the front and back here, as Aeolus is just wasting no time at all, picking off all these bases. And that's the power. That's the power, man, of Blinkstalkers. Like, in small numbers, yeah, they get crushed by Lings, but when the numbers grow, it seems like the Lings don't do as well in these bot games, because bot games are more about consistent engagements, which really benefits high numbers of Blinkstalkers. Caninana, it's now down to 2 bases. It may actually finish up Adrenal Glands, but look at this. The Lings are just trying to run away, and this is Caninana's sort of over-aggressive retreat. Like, at some point you gotta program in a response where you just say, all right, let's throw the dice and see where they lie, because the alternative is just being whittled down and dying. But Caninana seems to have elected for that alternative. Aeolus is building 6 gateways. It's just a 3-base bot doing its aggression and doing it darn well. The Roaches can consistently skirmish against these stalkers, but the Lings are being whittled down. I mean, some Lings, they are still running around, skirmishing. Caninana's got this base in the bottom right. 20 more Lings on the way. Roaches are fighting, but Aeolus can just replace any stalkers it loses. And yeah, a successful attack by Aeolus. Just this bot does so darn well. I want to be like, hey, Aeolus, you need to build detection sort of thing. Aeolus, you need to take a 4th base. Well, apparently Aeolus doesn't, in order to beat really one of the top Zerg bots. So yeah, just really well done. Yeah. And that, I think, is going to be that for this one. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this match, click that like button, leave a comment down below. I certainly enjoyed the incredible micro of Aeolus, the raw determination to make Blinkstalkers work. Caninana still has lots of drones alive, as they've just been safe burrowed. Now, Aeolus is kind of bugging out here in that it doesn't know that Caninana has another base in the bottom right. And there is a world in which maybe it bugs out inside the main base. These stalkers are distracted by these burrowed Roaches. And who knows, maybe Aeolus will allow Caninana to rebuild, as we do have a pool on the way. We do have an infestation pit on the way now. Caninana's just chugging along on 1 base. However, Aeolus is moving some of its stalkers now, as it seems to want to catch that Overseer. The few Roaches, Lings, and Queens are going to potentially make a play. The Roaches have +2 attack, which isn't bad, and they can just burrow and retreat, but they're not getting any kills. Aeolus is also starting to mine out at this point. I mean, is it gonna kill Caninana, or is it gonna let Caninana potentially live and come back here? As it is difficult to program a bot that ends the game correctly at times. Aeolus is like, yep, I'm in the main base. Yep, there's burrowed units nearby, so I'll just hang out. Okay, Aeolus does find the base of Caninana, shutting down that glimmer of hope for the Zerg bot, and I believe that will indeed be that. Roaches skirmishing non-stop, but too much firepower, +3 Blinkstalkers soon to be. And yeah, GG.